The council chamber erupted in chaos as the holographic display showed another world. Beautiful Firaxis Prime with its floating crystal cities, disintegrating into cosmic dust. High Counselor Zixtera, her translucent skin pulsing with stress chromatophores, silenced the panicked representatives with a resonant psychic command. "The Nyx corridor has fallen," she announced, her forehands trembling despite her composure. 300 billion souls, gone. The once mighty Galactic Concordat, spanning 17 galactic arms and uniting over 300 peaceful species, now faced extinction. For 20 stellar cycles, the biomechanical void harvesters had methodically consumed planet after planet, converting all life into fuel for their ever-expanding high ships. During an impassioned speech from the Quarian ambassador about their latest defensive failure, the chamber's security protocols suddenly triggered. A massive breach tore through the quantum-reinforced walls. Harvester infiltrators, council members scattered as elite Concordat guards, engaged the invaders with desperate precision. Zixtera watched in horror as the Illuvia Grand Emissary, whose crystalline body contained the collective consciousness of millions, shattered under a harvester assault beam. When the attack was finally repelled, the message was clear: nowhere was safe anymore. Even here, at the heart of Concordat power, their most sacred chambers could be violated. In the aftermath, as the wounded were tended to and the hall repaired, Zixtera accessed the Forbidden Archives, a secured data vault requiring the simultaneous authorization of 3 high counselors. The massive quantum computers hummed as they projected ancient records into the center of the private viewing chamber. "Show me Sol 3, Zixtera commanded. The projection shifted to display a blue-green world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star in a spiral arm far from the galactic center. Data streamed alongside the image. Atmospheric composition, geological stability, biodiversity metrics, but Zixtera focused on the dominant species analysis. She revealed the desperate plan to her most trusted advisors. Long ago, the Concordat had quarantined this system on the galactic fringe, containing a species so unpredictable and dangerous that contact was forbidden by ancient treaty. A species that, in less than 5,000 years, had gone from stone tools to rudimentary interplanetary travel. Security footage from covered observation posts showed these beings, humans, engaging in behaviors incomprehensible to Concordat sensibilities, willingly risking death for sport, creating art depicting their own destruction, waging war over abstract concepts like freedom and faith, yet also sacrificing themselves for strangers and building monuments meant to last millennia beyond their brief lifespans. "They are chaos incarnate," whispered Elder Kavoth, last of the Silicon sages. "You would cure the plague by releasing a more virulent disease." "Look at this," Zixtera countered, advancing the footage to show humans rebuilding after natural disasters, adapting to environmental challenges, creating beauty from destruction. "They possess something we have lost, the ability to transform through crisis rather than merely survive it." She activated a final hologram, her private research showing projections of total Concordat extinction within 2 stellar cycles. The lines and curves of mathematical certainty hung in the air like an executioner's blade. When faced with extinction, she concluded as the chamber fell silent, we must consider the unthinkable. We must make contact with the humans. Elder Kavoth's crystalline form dimmed in resignation. If you succeed, you risk bringing into our realm a species that may one day replace us. If you fail, you will have revealed our existence to a potential future threat. "And if I do nothing?" Zixtera replied, her chromatophores displaying the formal pattern of absolute conviction. "There will be no future at all." Lyrith Del Corso adjusted her morphological masking field as the stealth ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Half Aquarian, half Nexian, she was specifically bioengineered for this mission, her hybrid nature giving her unique insight into disparate evolutionary mindsets. As the synanthropologist reviewed humanity's file one last time, A Harvester scout ship suddenly appeared on their sensors. They hadn't even made contact yet, and already their mission was compromised. Captain Tizal made a split-second decision, engaging the ship's experimental phase drive, a desperate maneuver that caused catastrophic system failures across the vessel. They crash-landed in a remote mountain range on Earth, with half the crew injured and their communications array destroyed. Miles away, Major Sarah Chen of Earth's Unified Defense Force received reports of an unidentified object entering atmosphere. As military forces mobilized, amateur video of the crash spread across global networks, making containment impossible. Earth's fragile geopolitical alliances strained under the pressure of potential alien contact. When Lirith regained consciousness, she discovered Captain Tizal had initiated emergency protocols before dying. Their ship's AI had already transmitted first contact packages to Earth's major communication networks. There was no turning back. "This is not how first contact was supposed to happen," Lirith murmured, applying healing gel to a wound on her assistant's forehead. The protocols required careful psychological preparation. "Protocols are irrelevant now," interrupted Chief Science Officer Ven, his tentacles working frantically to salvage equipment from the wreckage. "We've been discovered. The question is whether they'll shoot first and ask questions later." They didn't have to wait long for an answer. Within hours, the crash site was surrounded by human military forces, their primitive but effective weapons trained on the damaged vessel. Lirith watched through a fractured viewport as armored vehicles established a perimeter and soldiers in environmental suits approached cautiously. "Remember," she instructed the surviving crew, "showed no signs of aggression. We must appear as unthreatening as possible." What followed was a chaotic first meeting, as human military forces surrounded the crash site, and Lirith's injured team made first contact under the worst possible circumstances. The Concordat's carefully crafted diplomatic approach was abandoned for raw honesty when Lirith projected holographic footage of Harvester planet consumption directly into the minds of the human leadership. In a secured bunker beneath Geneva, world leaders convened an emergency session. Major Chen, unexpectedly thrust into the role of humanity's representative due to her presence at the crash site, stood before them with Lirith at her side. They crash-landed trying to evade the same enemy now heading toward Earth, Chen explained, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "They've been watching us for centuries, afraid of what we might become. Now they're here because they need exactly what they feared." When the Harvester threat was fully explained, the room erupted in questions and accusations. But amid the chaos, General Omar Kazemi, a veteran of 3 regional conflicts, pounded the table for silence. "You monitored our wars," he said directly to Lirith. "You watched us split the atom, develop biological weapons, fight over resources and ideology. You were right to fear us." He stood, his weathered face betraying no emotion. "And now you're right to come to us. Fighting against impossible odds isn't just a human specialty. It's the story of our entire existence." Lirith felt something she hadn't expected: hope. She had studied humans extensively, but experiencing their resilience firsthand was different from theoretical knowledge. As the human leaders debated strategy, she transmitted a simple message to the Concordat: first contact achieved. They are exactly what we need, and exactly what the Harvesters should fear. Commander Elena Vasquez's transport shuttle exploded just as it docked with the Concordat training station Novus Imperium. Harvester sabotage. 17 human officers died instantly, but Vasquez, impossibly, survived by sealing herself in an emergency pod seconds before detonation. When Concordat medical drones retrieved her, they found her severely burned but conscious, clutching a tablet containing Earth's preliminary battle strategies. "Did the data survive?" were her first words upon regaining consciousness, not asking about her own catastrophic injuries. Zixtera observed the human through the medical chamber's transparent barrier, her chromatophores rippling with confusion. "Your colleagues are dead, Commander, yet your concern is for information that can be reproduced." Vasquez's pain-clouded eyes locked onto the alien counselor. Those strategies represent thousands of hours of work by Earth's best minds. My colleagues died bringing them here. Their sacrifice has meaning only if their mission succeeds. As Vasquez underwent accelerated healing in Concordat medical chambers, the Joint Military Command faced a crisis of trust. How did harvesters know about this supposedly secret transfer? Were there traitors among either humans or Concordat species? The tension between allies threatened to shatter their fragile coalition before it even began. Vasquez, despite medical advice, demanded to attend the first strategy session from her recovery chamber. When the Concordat intelligence director, Kishar, suggested limiting human access to sensitive data until the security breach was investigated, Vasquez had herself wheeled to a holographic projector. With half her body still wrapped in regenerative bandages, she activated a display showing a comprehensive analysis of potential Concordat security vulnerabilities she had compiled during her brief time on the station. "You've been fighting the harvesters for 20 years using the same encryption protocols," she explained. "Tactical predictability is death. On Earth, our military systems are constantly under attack from each other. We've learned to think like infiltrators." Her demonstration showed how the harvesters had likely intercepted their shuttle's approach vector by exploiting a flaw in the Concordat's communication patterns, a flaw so fundamental to their methodical nature that they had never considered it a vulnerability. In the awkward silence that followed, Zixtera made an unprecedented decision. The humans would redesign Concordat security systems, and in exchange, all harvester tactical data would be shared without restriction. The knowledge transfer began in earnest. The humans absorbed information at an astonishing pace. Vasquez, once healed, organized them into specialized teams that approached harvester tactics from wildly different angles. A former child soldier from a war-torn region identified harvester resource patterns that had eluded Concordat analysts for years. A game theory professor developed predictive models of harvester behavior that proved stunningly accurate. Meanwhile, Earth underwent transformation. Nations rapidly retooled industries for war production, competitive innovation driving progress at speeds that astonished Concordat observers. In Singapore, a consortium of technology companies developed quantum disruption weapons based on Concordat theoretical principles that the peaceful species never weaponized. During a demonstration of the first human-designed anti-harvester prototype, a Concordat ethicist expressed horror at its function, targeting the pseudo-organic components of harvester ships to cause maximum systemic failure, effectively making the biomechanical entities suffer before destruction. "You've created something that doesn't just destroy them," the ethicist protested. "It tortures them." Vasquez, now bearing scars no Concordat medicine could fully heal, met his gaze unflinchingly. "Exactly," she replied. "We're sending a message, not just to destroy them, but to make them fear us. Because fear," she gestured to the scared half of her face, "is the only language predators truly understand." Zixtera, watching from a distance, felt both hope and dread intertwine. The humans were everything she had hoped for, and everything the Concordat had always feared. The destroyer UES Leonidas drifted silently through the debris field at the edge of the Moros system, its energy signature masked by the radiation from a destroyed moon. Captain Maya Okafor watched as 5 more human vessels took position, all running dark, all seemingly vulnerable and alone. Their Concordat allies monitored from a safe distance, convinced they were witnessing a suicide mission. The harvesters had taken Moros 3 cycles ago, butchering the native Volinthi and converting their world into a processing hub. Intelligence indicated only a smaller defensive fleet guarded the system, the perfect testing ground for human battle doctrine. The Concordat battle plan involved overwhelming force, a frontal attack with their entire fleet. The human alternative was so radical that 3 Concordat commanders resigned in protest when it was approved. "All vessels confirm ready," whispered Lieutenant Kagawa, her hand steady on the tactical display. Harvester patrols maintaining standard patterns. Captain Okafor activated a secure channel. Remember the plan, people. We're the matador, not the bull. Begin Operation Hornet's Nest. What followed defied all conventional space warfare doctrine. The human ships simultaneously broadcast thousands of conflicting signatures, appearing as asteroids, then as massive battleships, then as nothing at all. The Harvester defense grid, designed to target normal attack formations, couldn't establish targeting solutions on the Phantom fleet suddenly surrounding them. When the Harvesters dispatched scout ships to investigate, human vessels struck with surgical precision, then vanished back into the electronic chaos. The Harvester command ship, attempting to coordinate a response, found its communications jammed by frequencies modulating in patterns no algorithm could predict, because they follow the improvisational structure of human jazz. They're adapting, warned the Concordat tactical liaison. Their secondary command node is reconfiguring to filter our electronic warfare. Exactly as we predicted, Okafor replied with a grim smile. Execute Phase 2. 3 human ships suddenly broke formation, accelerating directly toward the Harvester fleet in what appeared to be a suicidal charge. The Harvesters concentrated fire on this obvious threat, only to discover too late that the ships were unmanned drones disguising the warp signatures of dozens of micro-torpedoes. The resulting spatial distortions tore apart the Harvester defense screen. Victory seemed assured until a previously undetected Harvester dreadnought emerged from the planet's shadow, its main cannon charging to fire directly at the Concordat observation fleet, too distant to engage, but now exposed. Lieutenant Kagawa's console exploded, killing her instantly. Half the bridge crew lay dead or injured as Captain Okafor assessed their options. Their weapons were depleted, engines damaged beyond immediate repair. The Concordat ships would be destroyed in seconds. All hands to escape pods, Okafor ordered, overriding the ship's damage control systems to redirect all remaining power to the engines. As her crew evacuated, she plotted a collision course with the dreadnought's exposed power core. "Captain, you don't have to," her XO began. "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "The mission comes first. Now go." As the Leonidas accelerated toward the Harvester vessel, Okafor opened a channel to both human and Concordat forces. This is how humans fight, not just to win battles, but to win wars. Remember why we do this. Remember the Leonidas. The collision triggered a chain reaction that destroyed the dreadnought and the Leonidas. In the aftermath, as Concordat medical ships retrieved human survivors, Lyrith found Commander Vasquez in the observation deck, watching recovery operations. "Your captain sacrificed everything," Lyrith said, her voice modulated to convey respectful confusion. "Yet your crew celebrates the victory. I don't understand how you can feel such opposing emotions simultaneously." Vasquez handed her a flask of whiskey, strictly against regulations on Concordat vessels. "Tonight we drink to honor the dead," she explained, taking a long swallow. "Tomorrow we use their sacrifice to fight harder. This is how humans process war. We grieve, we celebrate life, we honor sacrifice, and then we go back to fight again. It's messy, but it's how we've survived when the odds were against us." The burning wreckage of the lunar colony, Armstrong City, stretched across the face of Earth's moon, visible from the planet's surface as an angry red smear on the silver disk. 16 million dead in the first Harvester counterattack. Not a military target, but a civilian settlement. A message. In the Orbital Defense Headquarters, Major General Wu watched Earth's defense grid light up with incoming warp signatures. The Harvesters had abandoned their methodical conquest of outlying systems. Now they were coming straight for humanity. The Luna massacre was just the beginning. "Civilian evacuation protocol Omega is in effect," his aide reported. "Concordat transports are loading refugees now." General Wu stared at the tactical display, showing Harvester forces converging from multiple vectors. "And our Concordat military support." "Still deliberating, sir. The Concordat Council is in emergency session." Meanwhile, aboard the Concordat Central Administrative Vessel Eternal Harmony, that very council faced its own crisis. The holocamber erupted in chaos as live feeds showed devastating harvester attacks across 3 human colony worlds. Elder Kivoth, who had initially opposed the human alliance, addressed the assembly. "We have awakened something terrible," the ancient silicon being intoned. "The harvesters now recognize humanity as the existential threat they truly are. They have abandoned their systematic consumption pattern to focus exclusively on Earth and its colonies. Our strategic model suggests they will commit up to 70% of their forces to this new offensive." "You mean they're no longer attacking Concordat worlds?" asked a representative from the Aquatic Mer Collective. "Precisely. While humans die, we gain respite." The implicit suggestion hung in the ethically pristine chamber air. Perhaps they should let humanity serve as bait while the Concordat rebuilt its defenses. After all, humans had survived less than 10,000 years as a spacefaring species, a mere eye blink compared to the millions of years of Concordat civilization. Lirith Del Corso, now serving as human liaison to the Council, strode to the center of the chamber, unauthorized. She activated her neural implant, bypassing security protocols to project imagery directly into the shared consciousness field. Hospitals overflowing with burned children from the Luna attack. Earth cities preparing for invasion. Human soldiers still fighting to protect Concordat refugee ships, even as their own world faced annihilation. "While you debate," she said, her voice breaking protocol by conveying raw emotion, "they'd fight for you." They knew the risk when they joined this war. They knew the harvesters would target them. And still they fight. On Earth, the situation grew dire. Anti-alien riots erupted in major cities as news spread that Concordat military support was delayed. A religious movement called the Cosmic Purifiers gained millions of followers overnight, preaching that the alien alliance was divine punishment for humanity's sins. In manufacturing centers, workers labored around the clock producing weapons that might never arrive at the front. Then the harvesters breached Earth's outer defense grid. As planetary defense forces engaged in desperate holding actions, the emergency broadcast system interrupted all global communications. General Wu appeared on screens worldwide, his expression grim but determined. "Citizens of Earth, the enemy has breached our defense perimeter. Evacuation zones are marked on the emergency broadcast network." He paused, then continued with cold precision. "To our Concordat allies, Earth will hold as long as possible to cover your strategic redeployment. We understood the consequences when we joined this fight. But know this, if humanity falls, we will ensure the harvesters remember the cost of our extinction." In the Concordat Council chamber, High Counselor Sixterra rose from her meditation trance, her decision made. She overrode the council vote with an ancient executive authority not invoked in 10,000 years. "The humans do not fight like us," she announced. "They do not think like us. They terrify us with their capacity for violence. And right now, they are dying for us." She activated the emergency deployment protocols, committing the entire Concordat Reserve Fleet to Earth's defense. "If we abandon them now, we deserve extinction." The Harvester Siege of Earth entered its 7th week. Massive enemy ships hung in low orbit, their harvesting beams carving channels across continents. Billions huddled in underground arcologies and hastily converted mine shafts. By all rational analysis, humanity should be broken, resigned to extinction. Instead, something unprecedented occurred. In the subterranean research complex beneath the ruins of CEO Arnon, Dr. Aisha Rahman worked without sleep for the 3rd consecutive day. The particle accelerator, repurposed with Concordat technology, hummed with energy as she manipulated quantum fields that shouldn't exist in our dimension. Her team, a collection of brilliant minds from rival nations who would never have collaborated before the invasion, monitored readings from equipment cobbled together from salvaged parts. "It's working," she whispered as the first test results appeared. "The entanglement disruptor is working." Across the globe, in protected enclaves and refugee centers, similar breakthroughs occurred with impossible frequency. Humanity, pushed to the edge of extinction, experienced what future historians would call the acceleration, a period of innovation so rapid it defied explanation. The pattern repeated in every sphere of human activity. In the Amazon Preservation Dome, botanists combined concordat biotechnology with indigenous plant knowledge to create agriculture that could thrive without sunlight. In the underwater cities of New Shanghai, engineers developed metamaterials that could absorb harvester energy weapons. In hidden monasteries of Nepal, meditation techniques merged with concordat psychic disciplines to create communication methods the harvesters could not intercept. Most remarkable to concordat observers was humanity's cultural response. Art flourished in refugee camps. Musicians incorporated harvester frequencies into compositions designed to strengthen human resolve. Children's games adapted to include tactics for evading harvester drones. Religions that had warred for millennia found common ground in the face of extinction, developing shared rituals that acknowledged both human spiritual traditions and the cosmic reality of alien intelligences. Admiral Vasquez, coordinating Earth's fragmented defense from a mobile command center that never stayed in one location for more than 6 hours, received visitors from the Concordat High Command. The aliens appeared shocked by the conditions. The command center was a repurposed subway tunnel, lit by emergency power, where officers worked on salvaged equipment while civilian refugees slept in adjoining chambers. "Your situation is desperate," observed Tholok, the Concordat's supreme military commander. "No," Vasquez corrected, leading them past a chamber where children were being taught multiple alien languages alongside advanced mathematics. "Desperate was 2 months ago. Now we're adapting." She brought them to a secure communications hub, where Lirith Del Corso coordinated with human scientific teams. On the central display, Dr. Raman's quantum research appeared alongside dozens of other breakthrough projects. "My people analyzed your records of harvester communication patterns," Vasquez explained. "You've been studying them for centuries, looking for weaknesses in their encryption. You never found it because you were looking for mathematical solutions." She gestured to Raman's data. "We approached it differently. The harvesters don't use encryption. They use quantum entanglement at a biological level. They're not just communicating. They're sharing consciousness." Raman's team had developed a device that could temporarily disrupt this entanglement, essentially giving individual harvester units free will for brief periods, causing confusion and tactical paralysis. "This is impossible," Tholok stated flatly. The most advanced Concordat scientists determined such disruption would require energy levels equivalent to a small star. Vasquez allowed herself a thin smile. "Yes, that's what the equations predict." But Dr. Raman found a shortcut. Sometimes human intuition sees what pure logic misses. The quantum entanglement disruptor succeeded beyond all expectations, turning the tide of the Earth siege. Harvester ships, suddenly cut off from their hive mind, became vulnerable to human Concordat attack squadrons. The invaders retreated from Earth's orbit, but the planet bore terrible scars. Entire regions rendered uninhabitable, billions dead or displaced. From these ashes, Operation Prometheus was born. In a historic address from the partially reconstructed United Nations headquarters, Admiral Vasquez stood before representatives of both human nations and Concordat species. The holographic displays behind her showed the battle plan for the first major counteroffensive against harvester-controlled space. "For 3 years, we've been on the defensive," she began, her scared face broadcast to trillions across the galaxy. "Today, that changes. Today, we take the fight to the enemy." Operation Prometheus targeted the Cygnus Reach, a sector containing 70 formerly inhabited worlds now under harvester control. The battle plan, conceived primarily by human strategists but refined through Concordat ethical oversight, focused on liberating occupied systems rather than simply destroying harvester forces. "This isn't about vengeance," Vasquez continued, though the fire in her eyes suggested otherwise. "It's about reclaiming what was taken. It's about showing the enemy and ourselves that what they destroy, we can rebuild." The operation began with simultaneous deployments across 17 star systems. Human Special Forces, enhanced with Concordat biotechnology, conducted infiltration missions considered suicidal by Concordat standards. Their objective: placing quantum disruptors at key harvester communication nodes. Commander Wei Chen led the most critical mission, infiltrating the heavily guarded harvester processing hub at Dinabai. His team of 12 moved through the ruins of what had once been a Valinthi city, now transformed into a grotesque biomechanical factory, where captured sentients were systematically broken down into component elements. Focus on the mission, not what you're seeing, Chen reminded his team as they passed processing chambers filled with horrors that would haunt their nightmares forever. We can't save them now, but we can ensure they're the last. When the disruptors activated across all 17 systems simultaneously, the effect was catastrophic for the harvesters. Their hive-linked ships suddenly operated as individual units, their coordination shattered. The main Alliance fleet, led by Concordat dreadnoughts and human tactical squadrons, surged into the confused harvester formations with devastating effect. Most crucially, the human capacity for empathy proved unexpectedly valuable in liberating conquered worlds. While Concordat species struggled to understand the trauma of occupation, humans, with their long history of both inflicting and recovering from atrocities, proved adept at rehabilitation efforts. On Teller Prime, where surviving inhabitants had been forced to witness the processing of their kin, human psychologists worked alongside Concordat healers to address profound trauma that purely physical medicine couldn't touch. On Novus Centauri, human agricultural experts helped restore ecosystems the harvesters had begun to transform. The cost remained high. Earth's orbital defenses repelled multiple harvester counterattacks, sometimes with narrow margins. Several human colonies were lost entirely. Yet with each engagement, the Alliance grew more effective as humans and Concordat species learned from each other. In the decisive battle of Operation Prometheus, Admiral Vasquez led a daring assault on the primary harvester processing hub at Dinabai. The battle lasted 7 days, with Alliance forces taking heavy losses, but ultimately prevailing through a combination of Concordat precision and human persistence. In the aftermath, as Vasquez walked through the liberated processing center, Alliance scientists made a stunning discovery in the Harvester Command node. Evidence that the seemingly mindless consumers were themselves created as weapons by some still unknown entity. Their tools, Vasquez realized, examining the biological programming code that had been extracted. Someone made them to consume, to clear the galaxy for something else. Lyrith, at her side, looked up from her analysis. Then we haven't won the war. We've only survived the first wave. Vasquez's scared face hardened with determination. Then we'll be ready for the second. 1 decade after first contact, the war reached its climax. The remaining harvester forces concentrated for a final push against the heart of the Alliance, targeting both Earth and the Concordat capital simultaneously. What followed was the largest battle in galactic history, spanning multiple star systems and involving billions of combatants. Massive harvester high ships, each the size of a small moon, tore through the outer defense grids of both worlds. But this time, the Alliance was ready. The quantum disruption technology, refined over years of combat, now affected harvesters at greater distances and for longer durations. Human and Concordat forces, having learned to complement each other's strengths, executed defense strategies that adapted in real time to harvester tactics. On the primary command ship, Admiral Vasquez and High Counselor Zixtera coordinated the defense together. The humans' intuitive leaps balancing the aliens' millennia of cosmic perspective. They're committing everything, Vasquez observed as tactical displays showed harvester reserves pouring into the battle. This isn't just an attack, it's desperation. Their creators must have recalled them, Zixtera theorized. The signal we detected from beyond the galactic rim 3 months ago, it wasn't just communication. It was a command to finish what they started, no matter the cost. As the battle raged across both systems, the Alliance implemented their final gambit. Dr. Raman's team had discovered a way to reverse the quantum entanglement that bound the Harvesters together, not just disrupting it temporarily, but permanently rewriting their core programming. The Alliance prevailed, though at tremendous cost. Earth's moon bore new craters from Harvester bombardment. Multiple Concordat worlds suffered ecological damage that would take centuries to heal. Memorial monuments listing the names of the fallen became common sights throughout Alliance space. In the aftermath, as reconstruction began, the galaxy faced a new reality. Humanity's influence extended far beyond military matters. Human art forms spread through Concordat culture. Concordat philosophical traditions found eager students on Earth. The isolationist policies that once kept species apart gave way to a complex, sometimes chaotic, but ultimately stronger integrated civilization. Lyrith, now serving as ambassador to Earth, reflected on the transformation as she addressed a class of human and Concordat children at the first integrated academy. She acknowledged that the Alliance was born of desperation, out of fear both of the Harvesters and of humanity itself. Yet what emerged was something neither civilization could have achieved alone. The Harvesters nearly destroyed us because they were singular in purpose, she told the students. They could adapt their tactics but never their fundamental nature. The Concordat nearly perished because we had forgotten that evolution requires stress, challenge, even conflict. Humans reminded us that comfort and safety, taken to extremes, become weaknesses. And we, perhaps, helped humanity channel their remarkable intensity toward creation rather than destruction. In Earth orbit, Admiral Vasquez and High Counselor Zixtera stood aboard the Alliance flagship, watching the recovery efforts below. They discussed intelligence reports suggesting the entity that created the Harvesters might still exist in distant space. Our scientists have identified the origin point of the recall signal, Zixtera said. Beyond the galactic rim, in intergalactic dark space, whatever created the Harvesters has noticed their failure, and will eventually send something worse, Vasquez concluded, studying the star charts. If another threat comes, Zixtera observed, we will face it together. Vasquez nodded, gazing at the stars. They should be terrified, she replied with a smile. After all, now they'll have to deal with an entire galaxy that's learned to think like humans. The galaxy was awake now, no longer a collection of isolated species, but a united civilization that combined the wisdom of the Concordat with the fierce determination of humanity. Whatever lurked beyond the rim would find not easy prey, but an alliance forged in the crucible of existential war, an alliance that would not go quietly into the dark.